Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today because we are looking at a literal structural shift in modern design. For years, the tiny house movement has been completely dominated by one ubiquitous feature, the loft bedroom. Everyone treated it like the ultimate space-saving holy grail, right? Well, today, we are completely deconstructing that myth. We're going to look at how ditching the traditional loft bedroom is revolutionizing tiny home design, making these spaces more accessible, super practical, and frankly, just a whole lot more comfortable. Okay, let's dive into this because we really need to talk about the physical reality of the loft. Have you ever actually tried sleeping in one? Picture this. You wake up startled in the middle of the night, you sit up, and smack. You've just hit your head on a light fixture or the ceiling. The old logic says that by stacking your sleep space, you gain all this precious square footage down in your kitchen and living room. But the trade-off? It's often a cramped, stuffy, and genuinely claustrophobic sleeping experience. You literally find yourself crawling on your hands and knees just to get into bed. It might look cute on social media, but living it every single day can literally be a headache.
So, let's contrast these two realities. On the left, we have the traditional loft. It's notoriously cramped, it traps all that rising heat from the house, and it can feel incredibly claustrophobic. But on the right, look at our solution, the ground floor bedroom. By moving the bed downstairs, we suddenly unlock accessibility. No more terrifying middle-of-the-night ladder descents, we gain actual physical privacy. And we open up a whole new world of versatile layouts. You know, this isn't just about avoiding a bumped head. This is an undeniable lifestyle upgrade that makes tiny living sustainable for the long haul.
Section 1. Making room for everyone. Andy and Gina.
To prove just how powerful this layout shift can be, we're looking at Andy and Gina's design. Usually, hosting in a tiny home means making your guests sleep on a fold-out couch right next to the kitchen sink, right? Not here. Andy and Gina actually managed to fit two completely separate ground floor bedrooms into their open layout. They created this dedicated, super cozy guest room for their college-age daughters, featuring bunk beds and massive 24-inch deep built-in wardrobes. But the absolutely crucial point here is the inclusion of pocket doors. This offers genuine, sound-dampening privacy that a floating loft could literally never ever provide. And in their primary bedroom, they didn't sacrifice luxury either. They designed floor-to-ceiling cabinetry and a brilliant built-in reading nook bumped out right over the tongue of the trailer. It is an absolute masterclass in spatial planning.
Section 2. Clever storage and coziness. Shantae and Son. Okay, so we know ground floors solve the privacy problem. But what about the biggest tiny home anxiety of all? Storage. Let's look at how ground floor bedrooms unlock surprisingly clever storage solutions and incredible cozy atmospheres. Shantae lives in a 399 square foot home in a tiny house community near Austin, Texas. Now, she wanted a luxurious, feminine space that didn't force her to purge her belongings, specifically her massive shoe collection. By opting for a downstairs bedroom, she was able to build a custom, highly practical two-level bed frame. The entire structure underneath her mattress is just packed with shelves and baskets engineered specifically to house all of her shoes. It vividly illustrates that sleeping on the ground floor doesn't mean you lose storage. It just means you get the opportunity to build the perfect functional storage system seamlessly into your furniture.
Take a second to process this number. 140. That is the total square footage of our next homeowner's house. Son downsized from a New York apartment to this absolute microscale ADU in Los Angeles. A 140 square foot footprint is incredibly small. And yet, she still chose a ground floor sleeping nook over a loft.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Son describes the experience of this space. She says, the plywood walls and ceiling in the space makes you feel like you're being hugged. You know, when people hear 140 square feet with a ground floor bed, they immediately assume it's going to feel stuffy or like a coffin. But Son actively avoids that claustrophobia through some truly brilliant design choices. She incorporated a massive door right next to the bed to ensure a continuous flow of fresh air. It is completely flooded with sunlight during the day, and at night, she uses a remote-controlled, customizable lighting system to instantly shift the mood. It proves that even at the absolute micro scale, a ground floor bed can be deeply soothing rather than confining. Section 3. Accessibility and climate control. Sandy and Morgan. Let's shift our narrative now to the critical, long-term functional benefits of ground floors. Because design isn't just about where you put your shoes, right? It's about how a home supports you as you age and how it protects you against extreme environments. We can contrast two vastly different architectural challenges that are both solved by the exact same layout. Look at Sandy on the Oregon coast. Her 352 square foot home was built explicitly for aging in place. It's a spacious 11 feet wide, features a gentle exterior ramp instead of stairs, and has wall-to-wall accessible drawer storage right in the downstairs bedroom. Now contrast that with Morgan in Montana. Morgan uses his downstairs bedroom as a literal cold weather survival tactic. In a traditional tiny home, the heater pushes all the warm air straight up into the loft, leaving the ground floor freezing. By sleeping downstairs and installing a strategic ceiling fan, Morgan pulls that trapped heat right back down to his bed, keeping him perfectly warm even during grueling 20 below zero Montana winters. And returning to Sandy's home for just a moment, I really want to highlight this incredibly specific sensory design detail. While building out her massive double-sized closet, Sandy deliberately left the area completely open all the way across the top. Why? So that when she opens her window, the coastal breeze and the physical sound of the crashing ocean can flow unobstructed right over her bed. Wow. It is a stunning reminder that a ground floor layout doesn't just change your interior space, it fundamentally changes how you connect with the environment outside your walls.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 4. Flipping the script, K.
All right, let's see how this builds into our final case study today, featuring a homeowner who took the tiny house rulebook and completely threw it out the window. Consider the unquestioned standard of the last decade versus K's layout. Traditionally, the living room is on the ground floor, with the bedroom shoved up in the loft. But Kay completely flipped the script. She put her bedroom on the ground floor and moved her entire living room up into the loft. Her logic was brilliantly simple. She absolutely refused to crouch on her hands and knees while trying to make her bed every single morning. She wanted the comfort of a standard bedroom right when she woke up.
And her gamble definitely paid off. Kay notes, obviously when you come into the loft you have to get on your knees, but you could be 6'5" and sit on this couch. Yes, navigating into her loft living room requires a little bit of a crawl, but the payoff is immense. Once you are seated on that couch, the space works perfectly for a TV room, accommodating almost any height. And in exchange for that slight transition, she gets a flawlessly comfortable, easily accessible, beautifully traditional bedroom on the ground floor. She engineered the home around her daily habits, rather than forcing her habits to fit the home.
Which brings us to our final question for this explainer. We've seen how ground floors provide ultimate hosting privacy, unlock massive custom storage, keep you warm in 20 below winters, and let you make your bed without hitting your head. So I have to ask you, knowing all of this, what is your layout? If you were building your dream space tomorrow, would you still cling to the traditional loft, or are you ready to bring your life back down to the ground floor? Weigh the evidence, think about how you actually want to live your daily life, and let that guide your design. Thank you so much for joining me today, and keep questioning the blueprint.